Yes, people, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. Myself and Lee to talk all things Arsenal and all things England. It isn't just Arsenal we're going to be talking about today because, of course, it is the international break. And I, for one, actually, usually cannot stand international breaks. I've actually quite enjoyed this one, judges. I've sat back and I've relaxed. I've recuperated. I've relaxed, refreshed myself and spent time with family and friends. Had a little bit of a break from work. So, actually, I feel pretty good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, same as I mean, I used to not like the international break, but I quite enjoy it now because it actually gives you a free weekend to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, so went to see Oliver on Saturday. By the way, that was unbelievably good,
Right.
unbelievably good. I couldn't believe how good it was. It was brilliant. Right, you know when you come out of out of theatre, I'm going along like the High Street, like Piccadilly High Street. Oh, consider yourself mine, mate. I think I must be thinking like, this geezer's mad, you know what I mean? But no, I really enjoyed that. Played football yesterday, and like sometimes, like the week before I played football, I had to shoot off straight away to get to the Arsenal Chelsea game, like on Sunday, because you ain't got a game or anything like that or nothing to do. You could have a couple of beers with the lads, and I really enjoyed it. Went to Tracy's party in the afternoon, had a good few beers there. Got talking to Gillian Tayworth, who is in EastEnders. Gillian, a massive Arsenal fan. So I was having a good chat with her, like, what do you reckon? Are we going to beat Madrid?
Who does she play in EastEnders?
Huh?
Who does she play in EastEnders?
Kathy Bill in EastEnders,
Kathy Bill in EastEnders. I do know. Yeah.
Lovely she is, and she's a massive Arsenal fan. And we're going to do it. That's all she keeps asking me, like, are we going to do it against Madrid? No, Gillian.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you got to be realistic, can't you? No, listen, I've seen there's a few of those. I don't really do the old theatre and shows and all that, but there's a couple of them that I would quite like. I think there's a Falls and Horses one in there, 40 Towers one.
Yeah.
Even like Mrs. Doubtfire and Oliver, all those cool ones I've seen advertised. I reckon they'd be a good laugh. Do you know what I mean? The only one I've seen is Book of Mormon. That was quite good. That's funny. Like that sort of thing.
Doubtfire, right? I'm going to consider, I mean, she has a gut with it. I've never seen the film.
What?
It just does not appeal to me.
That is criminal, mate.
I know some bloke.
Criminal.
I've
Robin
seen
Williams. Robin Williams is, from me growing up. Robin Williams is one of my favourite people.
Yeah, Mork and Mindy, which I wasn't really into Mork and Mindy, if I'll be honest.
No,
he was very good in Good Morning Vietnam. But no, to be honest, it wasn't never one of those sort of things that's appealed to me. So I wouldn't go to the pictures to the theatre. But maybe I should watch it or whatever, like, you know what I mean? But
yeah, my parents love it. Like my mum's in the chat, she loves all theatre. They love it. They absolutely love it. But I can't get into it as much as some. I don't know. Like, I ain't been able to get into it as much. I watched the Moulin Rouge. I watched Book of Mormon. They were all quite. It is quite good.
I've got to say, obviously, like me and Donna don't see eye to eye over a certain player, but obviously, like,
we do over the theatre, though.
We do over the theatre, like, I just think there's something spectacular about the theatre. I don't know what it is. I love the old. Do you know when you see a theatre, you go into London, you see a theatre, you think, it can't be a theatre there.
Yeah.
And then there's all these theatres, I mean, they're all like. There's the energy and the atmosphere in them I really, really like. And, Oliver was brilliant. They get him, everybody claps. And it was brilliant. And then you can go to Saint to eat afterwards. And, like London, I think it's got a fantastic vibe about it, especially now, Dan, when it's just starting to get summery. You know what I mean? There's something better. I don't mind going down London at any time when it's winter or whatever. But in the summer, it's just... London, there's something special about London, like, and the vibe.
I love London. I think it's unbelievable. I think it's one of the best cities in the world, London. But I must say, like, I've got into it. Like, my mum and dad, they go a lot. They watch most things I think they've seen, to be fair, whether it's the old school Les Miserables or Jersey Boys, or whether it's like Tina Turner, Michael Jackson. They've gone and done everything, Bodyguard, all that kind of stuff. They've watched it all, and they love it all. But I think you have got to be into it. I think you know what I mean.
you're still at that age, Dan, where you think beer's beer instead of like wine, a nice cultured wine. You know what I mean? Like, things like that. I get that. You know what I mean? Jersey Boys is I've seen that about 5 times. I think like it's just awesome.
Supposed to be good though. I've not seen that one. Supposed to be good.
Absolutely brilliant. Like, you know, that's my favourite. But I'll tell you, this Oliver was up there. If someone said to me, "I've got a couple of tickets for it again this week," I'd go and see it again. You know what I mean? A week later, it was that good. Like, you know what I mean? So
Wow.
it was. You know, the kids and the acting and all that were unbelievable. Like, and it's a bit funny as well, bit dark as well, got to say. But it was. It was brilliant, like so. Yeah, good to have that sort of weekend off of it, like you know, like England, you know, Latvia and who did they play? I can't remember. Albania, like you know what I mean. I'll be really honest, Dan. I come and look like if I said to you now, I've got 2 tickets to go to Wembley to watch tonight, free. I don't think I'd go.
Yeah, man, it's England.
The journey ain't the greatest. I don't know what it's like for you. It must be even worse for you. The journey
it is worse for me. Yeah, it is worse for me. But
great, you know what I mean?
You know what's mad is I'm with you about club and country. I've always been club over country. I'll watch England in the World Cup and in the Euros, and I'll get behind it and I'll start to enjoy it. But I find these painful, if I'm honest. And actually, what the international break does is it just gives us a bit of a break. Yeah, that's what it does for me. It brings me a bit of a break from football. But we will talk about it. We're playing tonight, but we did play the other night. And I've got to say, I thought it was one of the most enjoyable ones, not because of the entertaining football, not because I thought England were outstanding, and not because I thought, wow, what a team. But our boy Myles Lewis-Skelly may be proud, mate. Let me tell you that now. He has got so much stick, by the way, on Twitter and on social media and all this. And I don't know why it is, mate. I was going to ask you why you think it might be. Is it jealousy? Is it racism? Is it a young Arsenal lad that no one wants to do well? Is it because people think he's not humble because he did a celebration like Haaland? What the amount of stick I've seen him get is quite incredible for a young 18-year-old kid who's quite innocent and has come on. And let's be real, bruv, he's shut everybody up. He's basically stuck a massive couple of middle fingers up to everybody that's done that to him. He's gone and put in a brilliant performance, player of the match, goal on his debut, with great company and superb people in the ilk of Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney in terms of the youngsters that have scored for their country and club, to be fair, because he scored for Arsenal as well, people forget. I'm a big fan of this kid, Lee. I've got to be honest with you. And a lot of people will say that I should calm down and stop mentioning names like Saka and names like Ashley Cole. The only reason I do that is because they were the youngsters that come through at the Arsenal at that time. So I'm not saying he's going to be as good as those two, right? I hope he is. But when I saw Ashley Cole at Highbury, he weren't 17 years old playing at left back. He was 21. When I saw Bukayo Saka, he was 18, 19 playing at right wing. This kid's come in as a left midfielder, playing at left back at 18 years old, and he is taking literally every single chance that he's being given by both hands. And I think he deserves a lot of credit, and I don't think he's getting enough praise, bruv.
I don't think he's getting enough praise whatsoever. And do you know what? I don't like to bring in racism and things like that. You know, I like to think that it doesn't exist and all that. But we know that it does. And I think it does with this. I really do.
So do I.
You know, Archie Gray getting the young player of the year over him is, you know, if someone can explain to me that decision is based on football, then please do. And I don't want to get controversial and all things like that, but that's how I do see that. I think there's a lot of jealousy in it and all that. Like, to be fair, was at football on Sunday, and a few of the lads are Spurs fans, and you know, you get talked about the England game, and you know, we had the same conversations. It ain't great, but all of them were saying that, oh, well, this is some sort of a player. You know what I mean? Like, it is an unbelievable player. So I do think there is a little bit of that in there, like, you know, I think that a little bit of jealousy comes into it because he's not certain teams play. Like say if he's like Man United or a Man City and all that, it's not all there. I don't see someone like Foden, for instance, getting any sort of criticism. But what fears for me, Dan, and this is a big fear for me, is that if he has a bad game for England, let's see, you watch what they're criticising. And
well, do you know what? I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm going to cut in there because I brought this up yesterday and earlier. When England play bad, or when England go out, or when England have a bad result, on the back pages, I see the faces of Saka, I see the faces of Bellingham, I see the faces of Rashford, and I see the faces of now Myles Lewis-Skelly. I never see Foden on there. I never see Harry Kane on there. I never see John Stones on there. Why is that? I've always asked that with the BBC media. I've always asked that with the British media. And, this is coming from two white lads here, right, that are white British. But I always sit there and question. I don't like to get into the politics and the racism side of it, right? But there is definitely something to do with that. Because Myles Lewis-Skelly is a young black lad who's going to do very, very well in the game. I hope it's at Arsenal and England. I hope he does it for both. I hope he goes for the very, very top. But it seems that all we need to do, right, is have a massive, massive go at him. Now, this kid has got a sending off that was rescinded, and he got a last man sending off. They're painting him out to be Roy Keane or Patrick Vieira, right? That's the first thing they're doing. Secondly, what they're doing is they're getting on his back because doing a celebration in front of the Haaland celebration when he's beating Manchester City. Oh, what's his kid think he is? He ain't won anything. Yeah, hang on a minute. It's a bit of banter. Yeah, we weren't worried about when Saka was throwing darts at Madison, was we? And all this kind of stuff. Yeah, but this kid is 18 years old, and because he hasn't done it, and even though he said he isn't going to sit there and knows it all and he's best at all, done it. Now what I've seen is weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe even months now of Myles Lewis-Skelly's dirty, Myles Lewis-Skelly's arrogant, Myles Lewis-Skelly thinks he's won it all, Myles Lewis-Skelly's trying to give it to Haaland, Myles Lewis-Skelly's got another red card. And now Myles Lewis-Skelly scored his goal. Let's move on. So next is, and I think, hang on a minute, no. You've been slagging him off for 3 months for getting red cards. Now let's give him some praise. If you look at Talk Sport and you go through their articles, there's months and weeks of Myles Lewis-Skelly's a bit of a this and bit of that. People calling in to talk shows about Myles Lewis-Skelly. Myles Lewis-Skelly is an 18-year-old who scored for club and country, and no one's talking about it. They all want to call him all these names and say how bad he is and all that. Oh, sorry, man, I'm not having it. I think it's bollocks, Lee.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I put some more meat on the bone. I think that Declan Rice has got a lot more criticism since he's gone to Arsenal via England than he ever did at West Ham. So I think there is a little bit because it's Arsenal and all that. Like I like to think that it isn't all racism and all that. Like, but I do think there is a little agenda of it. Like I think that sometimes you can big somebody up to bat him down. Again, I think that happened with Paul Gascoigne and he was white. I will say this about it, I mean, I've seen Cole Palmer put in some poor performances of late, nothing said. As we said,
Foden's the one.
Roy Keane pulled out Foden. I think Jude Bellingham gets a little bit of criticism about his attitude at times as well, like, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, it can be a little bit perceived as a bit arrogant. I like to think that that people look at that and go, that's because he's a very, very good player instead of the colour of his skin. But I do think that he gets a little bit more of that than, say, a Foden or a Cole Palmer. Saka is one against the rule. Everybody seems to like Saka, whether he's black or whether he plays for Arsenal. So, I again, so I'm trying to level it out a little bit, like, but
apart from Chelsea fans who seem to hate every time.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think it's
some of it's rival fans.
Some of it's rivalry, but like
jealousy.
Sol Campbell, I don't know whether you like Sol Campbell and whatever. He's called it out a little bit, and he's called it out again about about he doesn't get the recognition that he feels he deserves because he's up against white players. So listen, we don't know, but because we're not black, you know what I mean? But obviously he feels that there's something there. I'm not going to argue with him on that and go, "Oh, he's being silly and all that," because we're not.
We don't get it.
We don't get it. We're not in his shoes. So he's called it out a little bit. So you would think that there is something.
There is saying in it. Kevin used to say it, didn't he? Kevin used to say it. Like there is saying in it, mate. 100% there is.
Yeah, I think that there is. And if I be really honest, I think racism works both ways. I think that it does. I like to think that I'm not. Some of my favourite players that I've played for, when people go to me, what's your favourite Arsenal player of all time? You know what I mean? All right, it's Charlie Nicholas from one point of view, but I always say Vieira, Thierry Henry. You know what I mean? Like, there would be a lot of people that would say Bergkamp, and hopefully they'd say Bergkamp for the reasons that he's not white. You know what I mean? It is because we all know that how good a player he was. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there would say, "Oh yeah, it's got to be so and so because of that." I don't know. I think that it's a thing. But let's talk about Myles Lewis-Skelly at this moment in time. He's done a celebration he got slagged off for. No one really criticised Haaland for his reaction after that goal, throwing a ball at a black man's head, doing what he done. If Myles Skelly had done, just change those roles over and say that Myles Lewis-Skelly done what Haaland done and Haaland done what Myles Lewis-Skelly done, I know we'd be getting the most criticism. So I do think there is something in it, and it worries me for the future of Myles, not for England, but for Arsenal. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee if he has a bad game and lets England down, which could happen, you know what I mean? He could get sent off, silly sending off. I think that he's got that in his locker, whether he's black or white, Dan, if I'll be honest, he's got it in his locker. I don't think that's a bad thing that, you've come up and called it like two sending offs, one's not sending off. So people still say, well, he's been sent off twice. No, he's not. He's been sent off once. You know what I mean? That was down to, what we know, Michael Oliver being Michael Oliver. And, I think that it'd be interesting to see what that happens. I think someone just said in the comments, I've got saying about Beckham was crucified. I think Beckham was crucified. Yeah. One of the reasons he was crucified, and this is what I go back to, is because he's a Man United player. Man United were the most successful team around that time, along with Arsenal. So I think there's, again, that little bit of jealousy in that. And I do think jealousy has to come into this, Dan. That, Man United, Man City, Arsenal fans, when it was David Beckham, this is a good time to have a go at him because it'll help us. You know what I mean? Like, let's get on to David Beckham. He might lose his form, and that will help us as a club. So I do think there's something in that. You know what I mean? Like, it's still very tribal fans. I wonder how many Spurs fans were jumping up and down and running around the pubs when Myles Lewis scored. Not many, I don't think. I honestly, I don't like. I've spoken to a couple of fans, a couple of my Spurs mates. So they said, "Oh, they did cheer, pleased that we got the goal." So it'd be interesting if he keeps banging in goals week in, week out, whether that happened. I don't know. All I worry about, if for me now, if he has another good game tonight, people will say this as well, Dan. And again, I don't think this is racism or whatever. Oh, it's only Albania, it's only Latvia. What can he do against one of the other top teams? So so I'll be seeing it that. Like, listen, I'm going to be really honest, Dan. I'll hold my hands up to it. I weren't going to watch the game, and one of my mates turned around and said, messaged me saying Lewis-Skelly's playing. So I thought, I'll watch it. So I did. When he scored, I didn't jump up going mad like I would do if he scored for Arsenal. I'm sorry, I was pleased for him and all that. I wasn't going mad. You know what I mean? Like, I just went, oh yeah.
That's the club and country thing again, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Just went, oh, great goal, like, you know what I mean? Harry Kane scored. Bayern Munich's Harry Kane, like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, well done, Harry. You know what I mean? Like, but I wouldn't be like, I don't think I moved from my chair once. But, that's because I haven't got the passion for England football like I have Arsenal. I'm there wanting Declan Rice to come off. When he come off like that, that was my biggest cheer. You know what I mean? Like, getting Declan Rice off, you know what I mean? And I'm scrolling through. Oh, bloody hell, Saliba's still playing 90 minutes. He's played another 90 minutes. Gabriel got suspended. Good, he can't play in the next game. Like, I'm really much like that, like, So, come the tournament, I think it's, listen, why are we having these World Cup qualifiers? Have you seen what we've got to qualify? You might as well just give it to us now. It ain't like, you know what I mean? It's just, do you remember when qualifiers used to be qualifiers? You know what I mean? There was some tough games. They ain't even tough games now. You know what I mean? They're all just like, England are guaranteed if they didn't play Rice, Kane, Pickford, that's none of the back four, normal back four, right? They could still win that group easily. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, I don't know. It hasn't got the same thing for me, England, like international football.
Did you think it used to years ago, though? Do you remember when we had the golden generation, Seaman, Neville, Cole, Campbell, Rio, Terry, all them guys? They had Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard, Beckham, Owen, Shearer, Rooney. Did you have that same as this? Did you really care? Because I think I cared more back then somehow. I got up for it more somehow. Do you know what I mean?
It's a little bit better, I think, because there was some good games in it, Dan. You know what I mean? Like, you had to, I remember, like, celebrating England's 0-0 in Italy, when Glenn Hoddle was in charge, you know what I mean? Because it meant that we qualified.
The opposition was better, wasn't it? Like the Brazil of the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah,
Brazil was unreal.
More competition,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I feel like this England squad is probably the best it's been for a long time. There's certain gaps in it, I think. And certainly from the first 11, you look pretty good. And then there's after that, if you was to lose Kane, not quite the same. Perhaps there's other positions that you can talk about there. But if you look at the players that we've got coming through, it's pretty impressive. Just wanted to ask you on Tuchel pretty quickly before we do move to Arsenal, because I like him, mate. I think he's a really good appointment. I liked his interview. He knows he's here to win. He's not here to just get the best out of him. He's here to take him across the line. And I've got to be honest with you, I was a little bit underwhelmed by a couple of his inclusions. I don't know why Rashford's there. I know he's done all right at Villa the last couple of games, but I was shocked to see him. Jordan Henderson, I mean, he's going to be 36 when we actually go to the tournament. There's no point in being there. Kyle Walker, likewise. But having said that, there's some top talent that England have. We've still got the likes of Adam Wharton that's coming through. I think Livramento has been a good fullback for England. Lewis Hall, Lewis-Skelly. Ethan Waneri, when he comes into the play, I'm sure he'll be part of the squad in the next couple of tournaments for sure. What do you think of Tuchel? Do you think he can get us a tournament across the line? Because Southgate obviously couldn't. Do you think Tuchel's the guy?
I think so. We was funny enough. We was talking about this yesterday. Like, all of us agreed that he shouldn't be England manager. That was something we said. Like, you know what I mean? Certain nationals shouldn't have a foreign manager. Like England being one of them. Should always be, like, it's true. Like, the coach driver should be English. You know what I mean? The physio should be English. Everything should be. So, that's what it is. You're best against their best. I think that. But like the smaller nations, definitely. But I don't think England should be having a foreign manager. In saying that, you're allowed to do it. It's the rules, and I think Tuchel is very much up there as one of the best. I really do. I do think, even though I do think he's one of the best, it's still not an exciting watching England. You know what I mean? I think that it's just a hard thing to do. I don't know why that is. I'm a big, I think someone said it. I think Glenn Hoddle, when Glenn Hoddle was manager of England, I thought that was the most entertaining England side I've seen. Terry Venables and Glenn Hoddle, that sort of era. I think that's why I probably enjoyed it more, Dan, because it was entertaining. But after that, it weren't that entertaining. But then, I do think that's a very interesting thing you said just now. There, he ain't here to to get the best out of the players. He's here to win it. So if he doesn't, if Walker, he ain't worried about who's coming through in a year's time or who's coming through in 2 years' time. He's here now to win it now. And if Walker and Henderson are going to be those guys, he don't care, because if he was to win the World Cup in a year's time, he may that may be him gone after that. Probably will be like, but he's done the job. He ain't worried what happens in 3 or 4 years. Where I think that if you get an English manager in, maybe a Gareth Southgate in the past, he's sort of worried about what the future's going to be as well as the now, where this manager's not going to be worried about that. But listen, he's a proper manager that's won things, Dan. And
yeah, man,
that's how I look at it. I think he's a good manager. Would I have him at Arsenal? Yeah, I think I would. Would I have Southgate at Arsenal? No, I wouldn't. And I think that's the difference for me personally. So we've improved on the manager. But as Kevin used to say, God bless him, it's not always about the manager, it's about the players. And if we've got the players good enough, I think we have. I think we have. I think that we've got the players. Now, as good as he is, Tuchel, he hasn't got the best out of Foden, and a lot of people haven't got the best out of Foden. Southgate certainly didn't, And listen, he was bloody annoying how crap he is now, considering how good he was last season when, if he was as poor as what he has been this season, Arsenal would have won. He was sensational last season playing for Man City. But he's not done that at club level. Now, John Barnes could have been put at that door back in the day. Was fantastic for Liverpool. Wasn't quite as good for England. And you probably could say, dare I say it, Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard, as outstanding footballers that they were they right at it for England? Maybe not. That's why I think that Harry Kane gets a little bit of, well, that's it. He feels a little bit undervalued, I think. And I think because he has been one of those that's done it for both club and country. And I think he's more tougher for the attacking sort of players than the defensive players, if I'll be really honest. If you look at, Cole Palmer come in and done very, very well. Saka's been immense for England, if I'll be really honest. I think he's been really consistent. But, it's a little bit tougher for the forwards. I don't know why Foden's not, he's playing against a team on Friday that was what it's like playing York City or Stevenage in the FA Cup. Am I being disrespectful there? I don't know. And he didn't shine one bit. And I think that's a big worry for me.
Look, if I was to pick my England 11 right now, Foden wouldn't be in it.
Wouldn't be in it, what with injuries now, or?
No, he wouldn't be in it when everyone's fit.
Right.
Seriously, it would. I'd play Rice and Bellingham with Palmer in the 10. Saka would be my right winger. Kane would be my forward. And left wing, I put Anthony Gordon. So for me, I wouldn't put Foden because Foden ain't good on the wing. And Foden ain't done it for England. And Foden, for me, ain't better than Palmer.
Well, I think in that 10, you've got Foden, haven't you? All right, there's 3 players you can pick in that 10 as far as I know. Well, 4. All right, we're bringing it. So it's Foden, right, Bellingham, Palmer, and Maddison. I think they're the best 4. Maddison's like being left out. He's not in the league of those 3.
No.
I don't think Foden gets above Bellingham and Palmer, in my opinion.
That's where I'm at. Look, I look at right now and I think, who's had a better season, Morgan Rogers or Phil Foden? Morgan Rogers.
Different players, though. Different.
You know what I mean? No, they are different players, and but
he's shoehorned him into the right. He hasn't shoehorned Rogers, is what you're saying, isn't you?
Yeah, and if you look at how both of them are playing, they're playing similarly for their clubs at the moment in terms of the position that they're playing. They're different types of players, but they're playing in a similar position. He's the attacking midfielder for Villa. He's the attacking midfielder for Man City. And unfortunately, Rodgers is coming out on top. I'm not saying that Rodgers should be picked ahead of Foden every single time, but if it's on form, I think right now Rodgers is on fire in comparison to him. Now, I like Morgan Rogers. I don't think he'd start in my team personally, but that's another option you've got. This is where we're at. Morgan Gibbs-White, people are talking about. Eza, people are talking about. You mentioned Maddison. Obviously, there's other players as well that have we've not even spoken about wide yet, like Jared Bowen. I think is incredibly underrated. But you look at it now, you think, yeah, I don't think Foden gets into this first 11, and that's crazy that the Player of the Year of last year does not get into the starting 11 for England and has not been anywhere near Team of the Season in the Premier League. Now, I'm not saying that he needs to go and get Premier League Player of the Year again, but you'd expect the Premier League Player of the Year to be in the kind of bracket of a De Bruyne or a Salah to consistently get in Teams of the Season each year. And I don't know that Foden's done it yet for country. I know he's done it for club, but is there an argument to suggest that Foden's been not carried, because that's incredibly insulting towards him because he was outstanding last year, but has he had everything around him quite nice? Do you know what I mean? Whereas Saka and Palmer have had to carry their team on their own, on their backs, a bit more. Is that fair, or is that harsh on Foden?
No, I think that's very fair, because if you really look at Palmer also, he's had to leave to had to leave to come down to London. Whether he'll stay at Chelsea through his whole career, that's a different matter. He could go back up north, I don't know. But, I think that he's had it probably tougher than Saka, if I'll be honest, because he's had to make a £50 million move and have that over his head. And listen, I thought he was fantastic last season. Out of the two last season, you'd probably say Foden nicked it because of what he achieved, the league and all that. But it was an unbelievable first season for Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer struggled a little bit this season. The one player that out of all of those hasn't struggled is Saka. Take the injuries away, has performed season after season after season, because you have to change your game a little bit because you get found out a little bit. I even think that Rodgers has been found out a little bit from the beginning of the season. So now, Dan, because everybody knows what Rodgers is like now. I didn't know who he was when I see him at Villa Park.
He actually reminds me of Bellingham, Rodgers. I'm not going to put him in the same bracket as that. I'm not sure Rodgers could do it for Real Madrid, but certainly his style of play and his attributes look very similar to Jude Bellingham when he burst on the scene at Birmingham. I thought he looked brilliant. Against us, Morgan Rogers, I know he lost, but we won. But he was so good against Arsenal, that game earlier this season.
I didn't really know who he was, but I was looking down my phone. Who is this player like? You know what I mean? This is some player like. You know what I mean? I've not been to many games over the last few years and sort of gone through the opposition and gone, wow, who's that? Oh, he's doing this. So he absolutely destroyed Partey and Rice that day. But I do think that he's just been slightly found out, or he's levelled off a little bit. Foden, I think that Gibbs-White was mentioned earlier as well, and I think he's another one that you should put in that 5. I think he's been outstanding for Forest. But, he'll have to kick on again. And I just think with Foden, I think that what I don't like about England a little bit, and I'm going to and everything there is that they've done it with the Scholes-Gerrard thing, and Foden is not a right winger, right? Or so people are saying he's not a right winger. So what's he doing out there then? You either play him in midfield,
or don't play him.
So whoever a right winger is, and I don't know, Anthony Gordon, for instance, I know he's injured now, but he must be thinking, I'll play him wing all the time. And there you are, putting midfield players in.
Well, even Jared Bowen, he's been quality.
Jared Bowen could play there, yeah. I agree. He could argue that he's been playing as a centre forward, but he has been playing there, yeah. He's another one. And I'm always, managers of all managers are guilty for that, Dan. All guilty for it over the years. Arsene Wenger's guilty for it with Ramsey playing him wide right.
Well, I remember we had Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard. They used to always shove one of them on the wing, shove one of them on the bloody wing. And I think, what are you doing, man? They all just play 2 of them. You know what I mean? Crazy.
Exactly that. And you're making a manager who's on a lot of money to make those decisions. And it's an easy thing. I'll put Foden out there. And it shouldn't be, Foden should either be in midfield and you're saying to him, right, you're my guy, I'm going to play you as the fifth. Or you're not playing. Or, sport for choice, really, because you've got Bellingham. You could actually play Bellingham as a midfield too. I know, like, play Rice and Bellingham, which he chose.
That's what I would do. Yeah,
but he can play that, and then you get him in, or something there. Like, I look at blimey, what's the player that's playing at Madrid now?
who? Joe Bellingham?
No, it was at Chelsea. It's gone to Madrid.
Rudiger?
No, English midfielder. Oh,
Don't know. The chat will let us know.
yeah, let us know. Like, it's at Chelsea last season. Conor Gallagher.
Oh, Gallagher, you mean? Sorry, Atletico Madrid. I thought you meant Real Madrid.
Yeah. Sorry. He should be playing in that midfield role. Well, they don't play him in there. That's why they think, we can get someone else in there to do this and do that, And I just sometimes along the line you just look at it and you think, and I think it's the same in cricket. A lot of the other time, that England, you have favourites.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, or because you can't tell me that Rashford deserves to be playing for England on form and whatever. When I see people like, I know, say like, if you were, all right, take a left winger at Arsenal, you can take Anthony Gordon or Rashford this season. Who would you take? Anthony Gordon.
Well, you'd take Gordon, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So why is that he's in the side? You know what I mean? Like, I get it that every manager does have their favourites. I don't say their favourite. I mean, they see something in a player that other people can't see, and that's their prerogative. That's why they're managers. You know what I mean? And of that team. But there are certain people that get in the team that. For instance, Gay, how comes he's been left out? I think he's been our best central defender for the last year.
Yeah, I don't get that. Yeah.
Why has he been left out?
Has he left out, was he? Bloody hell.
Well, he was on the bench, I don't know why. You know what I mean?
Oh, he was on the bench. Sorry, right, yeah. No, I don't know that either. Sorry, I thought you meant from the whole squad. No. For me, he's the number one starter. I'd play playing him ahead of Stones. That's how good he's been. He's been brilliant for Palace, club and country, and I'm a fan of him. I don't know why I'm not actually a fan of that Colwell. I don't get him at all from Chelsea. But I think him and Jared Branthwaite are going to be the next two pairing for England in the next couple of years. I think
he's been left out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think Branthwaite should be getting in. He looks quality. I think top bloke from Everton. So yeah, look, I don't know. We've been talking about this for decades, ain't we? Let's be real about England. Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? I don't care who he plays if he gets us to cross the line. I'll say that. I'll be true. I don't care who he picks, who he plays. There's enough quality there. There's enough. I don't have. It'd be brilliant if some of the Arsenal lads were a big part of it. Because it's good for their confidence. As long as they don't get injured. But Rice and Saka are going to play for England, Lee. Do you know what I mean? Rice and Saka, if they're fit, are going to play for England. And I hope that they win the World Cup and the Euros. I really do. And we'll end on there because that's all I care about is them winning. I'd love to see Arsenal win a Premier League and a Champions League, but I would also love to see England win the World Cup in my lifetime. It'd be phenomenal. It really would. A lot of people say I don't care about that. I do. I'd love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. I think you imagine what that would be like. A day we lift the World Cup, what it would be like out on the streets. It'd be incredible, wouldn't it? Absolutely incredible. So,
yeah, listen,
you can't not want that, is what I'm getting.
I was gutted when England didn't win the Euros last. So I'm very disappointed. It was a great game and could have gone either way. And when Palmer scored the goal, everybody was going mad. I was around my mate's house. It was great, but then I don't mean to pour water over it. Like, I went that night. I went home, went to bed, and was asleep. Like I wasn't up all night.
No, you're right. No, you are right. I'm the same. I'm not still awake at 2 a.m. because Arsenal. You're right.
Like going like, shout, waking up, going, oh, ta-ta, or like, that's how I am. You know what I mean? Like if Arsenal lose a game, I'm up most of the night worried. But you know what I mean? So that's how I am. You know what I mean? If God come down to me and said, Lee, you got World Cup this next year, or you can win the Champions League with Arsenal. Champions League all day long. I'm sorry, that's how I am. I'd love England to win the World Cup and see it in my lifetime, or a major title. We've come close in the Euros the last couple of times, and it's been fantastic, by the way, getting to the finals, and I've really enjoyed it. But at the end of it, no, it's Arsenal for me all day long. Listen. being greedy, I'd like to see both. You know what I mean? But
Of course.
you
Of
know,
course.
there you go.
Well, look, a bit of trivia. Anyone know the answer to this question? I don't know the answer to this question. Harvey, he says, which player has the best or the lowest minutes per goal in the Premier League this season? Which player has the best, lowest minutes per goal in the Premier League
You
this
know
season?
what? I'm going to say close to our. I'll say it's probably Marino.
I was just going to say Marino because I think that's why he's brought it. I bet that's why he's brought it up because it's someone like that. I mean, when you think of it, you go for like Isak, wouldn't you, or Haaland or someone like that when you think of it straight away. But let us know who it is, then, Harvey. Don't leave us all in suspense.
Yeah, don't leave us like hanging, Harvey.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's an Arsenal player, so I will go. I will. It's not Salah. That's what he's put. Who is it then? Who is it then, Harvey? You have to let us know who it is because I don't know who that is. Yeah, if it's Marino, that would be crazy. To be fair,
probably not because of his games. Thinking about it before his, like when he was in midfield.
Yeah. Aston Villa. Oh, you meant a team? What? What's he talking about here? Which player has the best lowest minute? Oh, an Aston Villa player.
Aston Villa player, is it?
Oh, so is it Rodgers or Watkins then?
Or Duran?
Oh, John Duran. I bet it's John Duran.
Duran, then we're going for, Harvey.
It will be. Yeah, and now that he's gone as well, it'll definitely be him because he's left, isn't he? So it's a bit trick question that really. Asensio.
Asensio. It could be. Yes.
Yeah, it is, Yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be Asensio.
Yes.
Apparently, no one was available to sign in January, but they managed to sign 3 players, and Asensio's been balling out for him.
Yes. Good question, that, Harvey.
Really good. Really good. Oh, it's Duran.
There you go. We got it right.
At least we got it right. It's
Duran, listen, stick with me and Dan. We know what we're talking about.
Oh dear! I mean, it was the longest suspense ever. That Harvey. Next time,
who said that, Sophie? Got that completely wrong, like, stick with us.
Oh, honestly, he don't. Yeah, I'm with Sophie. Look, he don't play for Villa. Do you know what I mean anymore? So it can't be true anymore, Harvey. Do you know what I mean? Oh wow! After all that, I mean, that is. Do you know what, Harvey? If you do quizzes, make sure you let us know the answer quicker than that. Yeah. We've given about 8 answers. Do you know what I mean? Big up, Harvey. Legend he is.
We got it right, though, Harvey. We
did get it right. We did get it right. We did. Before we go into Arsenal,
do you remember that game at Runaround? Do you ever remember that? You're probably too young for that. When you used to.
What's it called? Runaround.
It was with Mike Reed, and what you did, you had a yellow ball and a red ball, and you used to go into they had questions, and you used to go to a certain pot for the question. And then they'd say, you got time to change now or run around now. And you change if you wanted to, or you kept to that thing now. If you kept to that and you got the question right, you carry on to the next round. If you didn't, you was out of the game, yeah. I think we was in that run around bit there. We've gone on the Duran one there and Asensio Cup. I think we would have changed then.
I think we would have changed. I don't know the game running around. I know the only thing I know yellow and red is Funhouse with Pat Sharp. That's the only thing I can think of when you were talking about that with the old go-karts at the end. But no, mate, I ain't do that. I would have changed. I would have changed though. The minute someone said Asensio, I would have changed.
I would have changed. I would have changed, and we would have gone out you know what I mean? So
Crystal Maze that someone's put in.
Crystal Maze, a bit too intelligent. That was. What was that other one? Crips and Facts, and that was always hard.
Oh, Crips in fact.
Dan loved Rainbow. There you go.
I did love Rainbow. Yeah.
Your mum's done you there,
I remember that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Rainbow. I remember Rainbow.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, you do. Yeah. I love Rainbow.
Rent a Ghost. Harvey's put there. Yeah, I remember that. It was that was when TV programs, kids programs were programs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't have them anymore, mate. Don't have them anymore.
You know what I mean?
Years ago, they were quality, mate. Used to watch Play Days, Rainbow when I was young. Thomas the Tank, they were all quality. Rod, Jane, and Freddie. Do you remember that? Rod, Jane, and Freddie. I remember that one. That's old school. Pingu, that was class years ago as well. But now they're all rubbish now, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Peppa Pig's the only one that I think people watch consistently now, isn't it? Something like that. I don't know. I ain't got kids, so you know. But anyway, let's get to football. This comes in from Chaitanya Judges.
Go on.
Says, do you sell Gabriel for 100 million and fund Isak? We have to clean out our finances with wages and transfer fees, and Calafiori can play in Gabriel's position at centre back. A lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people have asked me about Gabriel to Saudi. Do you think he'll go? I've heard a lot of worrying concerns and rumours that he could go. If we do get 100 million and that could fund us Isak, the question, I suppose, is would you take that?
No.
No, neither would I.
No. Isak should be funded after us doing absolutely nothing in January.
Yeah.
And, spending 5 million in the last transfer window and nothing in the last transfer window before that. I'll be fuming if we have to sell players to get players. I get that you have to do some sort of refreshing of the squad and all that, but I think every top player at Arsenal shouldn't be funded for another thing, right, after the transfer windows of the last three. I'm sorry, Dan, you know what I mean? That's how I feel. The club have been shocking, in my opinion, over those, especially in January, you know what I mean? And I'm expecting them, not only that, Dan, they've put up ticket prices as well this season, yeah. Again, I'm okay with that, you know what I mean?
Well, they put them up every bloody year.
Yeah. I'm not, if I
Which ain't right, I don't think. But, if they're going to put it up, I want them to go and sign a striker. If that's what they're going to do.
I expect everything to be done this season. I don't think that we might be a little bit short because we've gone big in certain, we've gone and bought centre forward, midfield player. We've spent a lot of money, so we might be a little bit light in certain areas, which we're going to have to gamble on. Because don't forget, we've also got to, in the next year or so, get players on bigger contracts and all that. So I get that we might have to be a little bit short, maybe in certain areas where we have to maybe fill in some. Ben White might have to play centre half, might have to play right back. Simba will have to go left back, or someone will have to come into midfield and cover all that. I get that, but when I look at that first 11 on that first game of the season, or when the transfer window closes, I look at it and I think that's good enough to win the league, and that's good enough to win the Champions League as well. That's what I want. I don't see that at the moment. I did think that the team was good enough to win the league this season. It hasn't come out that way. It doesn't mean to say you're going to win it, by the way, Dan. I remember when under Arsene Wenger, I used to look at the team and go, yeah, that's going to win the league, and we come second to Man United. That could happen. But what I'm looking at and I'm thinking, yeah, that's good enough. For instance, really, this season in the Champions League, like last season, it's get as far as we can and we'll be pleased. You know what I mean? Quarterfinals is respectable. I think we got to the quarterfinals again. There's a little bit of pressure off now. I think there's pressure on the last season in particular, getting into the quarterfinals. When we got to the quarterfinals, Bayern Munich, if we win it, brilliant. If we don't, we don't. Right? That attitude's got to change when I see that team sheet come out, that first team transfer window. I'm going to look at it and I go, that's good enough for us to win that major. And if it's not, then that's on Arteta, and that's on the board and everybody at Arsenal.
Facts, absolute facts. Look, I don't know what your thoughts are on the whole players in, players out thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Berta and his kind of introduction. But Matty, big up to you, man. Southern Gooner. Make sure you're following Matty over at the Southern Gooner. He says, Lee, I think the forward line needs to be refreshed. Some can be moved on to bring in better. Let's just concentrate on our forward line for a minute before we bring in some rumours, right? Obviously, Sterling's going to be going back in the summer. We've got Saka, who's coming back from injury. Over the other side, we've got Martinelli and Trossard. And up top, we've got Havertz and Jesus, right? What would you do in the summer with those, what we got there, 6 players? Sterling, Saka, Havertz, Jesus, Martinelli and Trossard. If I had to say to you, which ones would you keep? Which ones would you sell? what you're doing. Obviously, Sterling's going back.
Yeah. Well,
Where
how I
else
see it
would
is
we
that, for me, I'd keep Havertz and Martinelli. Right, I'd probably sell Trossard a year left on his contract, and at the beginning of the season, my front three will be Saka, new signing.
Okay.
So
So
Martinelli,
basically, you're buying a striker and a winger
yeah,
that are going to start. Yeah, like a strike. You're starting Saka on a right. You're buying a left winger and starting them, and you're buying a striker and you're starting them.
yeah,
And
like, listen,
Havertz and Martinelli are your backups.
yeah. Listen, if you buy, say, if Arsenal to buy Isak, I would go all right with Martinelli on the left. Like if we could, I would sacrifice. What I'm saying, we might have to sacrifice the winger option if we've got that top player. But if we're signing, say, Sesko, I expect someone else alongside Sesko. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Anybody else? If we're signing an £80 million player, I want to see a £60-70 million next to him.
So if we get Sesko, right, which I think we're going to get, let's say we get Sesko on the left. Let's say it's Nico Williams. Are you having a front three of Saka, Sesko, and Williams then?
Yeah, or I'd go down Cunha route.
Okay.
Who can then play in as a midfield player? Well, not a midfield player.
Like attacking 10, like thing.
Attacking 10. So when we're playing these deep blocks, we've got like Odegaard and Cunha playing in the midfield, sort of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, no, it is interesting. That does make sense to me. Like I've written off getting Isak. I've got to be honest with you, bruv. I don't see that one happening.
No, I don't see it happening. So like, if they do get the centre forward, whoever it may be,
yeah,
you know, I expect it to be two positions signed up there. Like, you know, I get if I do get Isak, we may have to be a little bit short. We keep everybody else. You know, Isak comes in, Sterling goes out, and we keep everybody else.
Yeah. I get that. I get that
because you know he's a different class. But
yeah,
I think if that doesn't happen, that I agree, it needs to be revamped. The whole, you know, as I say, and I'm only putting Saka in there. On I don't know what the Saka's going to be like now, like, you know. So I'm expecting, like everybody tells me, that once you've had this operation, you come back stronger. It's very, very funny how the likes of Aaron Ramsey now have been having this hamstring injury, have also gone for this operation now. Reece Nelson was halfway through his thing, and then he's gone and had the operation. So it looks like the operation is the way to go now, instead of waiting all this time for it to heal, because it seems that the operation makes you stronger. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But if Saka comes back and he's at his very, very best, he's a guaranteed star. Out of all of those attacking players, he's the only one that is, in my opinion.
Interesting. Let's take a look now at who we are linked with today. And this would excite me, if true. But I say if. Apparently, Arsenal are plotting a decisive raid on the Sporting Lisbon striker Victor Gyokeres this summer. They've requested a formal meeting with his agent, Hassan. I'm not going to butcher his surname. He is apparently a friend of Mikel Arteta. So Victor Gyokeres has got a release clause. Now, I thought the release clause was 84 million. It turns out in the summer it drops down to around about 60 to 65. Arteta is apparently friends with his agent, Hassan. And I think this needs to get done, Lee. If we can't get Isak, which I don't think we can, I think this is the next best one. This is the one that I've wanted for a while. You know, I've been talking about him for God knows how long. This is the reason I want him. Like, I don't know if people understand why I want this guy. This guy, for me, literally does everything. Now, I'm not saying Isak doesn't, because he's unbelievable. He's phenomenal, and he would be my number one. But I wouldn't be mad upset if we got Gyokeres, because this guy scores all types of goals. He links up play. He does the Havertz stuff that you like, but he also does the Isak stuff that we all like, right? So he's a little bit of both, where he can actually bring in players into play, link up play, hold the ball up, flick it on, win stuff in the air. Aerially, he's good. I love him on the ball. He can score all types of goals. His goal scoring has been absolutely brilliant. He's got physical attributes. And if I'm honest with you, he's got great ball carrying stats as well. I'd be a massive fan if we got this one, if we pulled this one off, Judge.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I'd like to see him come, if I'll be honest. And you know, he's got. I like him. You know what I mean? He's a proper centre forward. He scored goals. I know he's England. It's in the Championship. It's not. And if anybody watches the Championship, it's not an easy league to play him. You've got to be mentally strong week in, week out, physically strong week in, week out. So he's had that built into his DNA. He's polished himself up by going to Sporting. Whatever happens, he's not going to be there next season. So he's one that's going to move. And if Arsenal have got somebody else in mind, then fair enough. But we'll have to wait and see what this is for me. So I'm with you on this one. Listen, Sesko's probably got a higher ceiling, but he's only 21. He's raw. So I think it's a little bit like we were saying with England at the minute. It's now or never. We've got to get it now. It's not what's going to be 2 or 3 years down the line. It's got what it's going to be like now. And I'll tell you what. I don't know if you think this. Like, I see Liverpool being linked with Harry Kane, right? And I get that because Liverpool are not looking for 4 or 5 years down the line. They're looking now. They've got an opportunity now. They think that there's a window of opportunity.
Apparently, Liverpool are looking. It says here at Isak as well, and Isak
has
said that
I think Liverpool, and they're thinking to themselves, Man City are not going to be about for a couple of years. This is the time for us to dominate the Premier League for a couple of seasons. Arsenal have got to be in that mode as well. Got to be. And if it is Arsenal and Liverpool battling it out for the next couple of years, it's got to be like, you know, and if City are going to have a little bit of a level up before they come again, because they will come back, guaranteed. So it will be interesting. Is he... If we've just to get him down, that's not good enough. Where I think Isak would be, I'll take Isak now, no one else.
Of course. I think everybody would.
I think that's the difference. You know what I mean? If we were to sign Gyokeres or whatever his name is, Victor, we are going to need other players alongside as well. Like, you know, we need a wide player to go alongside that as well, and we need midfielders and a creative someone else that's going to score goals from the top of midfield, if I'll be honest, the base of the strike force. So for me, like, Cunha would be a must as well. So like, if we got Cunha, that wouldn't be enough as well, Dan. Do you see what I'm saying? We've got to have two. We've got to have, you know, we have got to address not breaking teams down, dropping too many points at home. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be sorted out. It's been going on for too long.
Well,
so
we want to bring in some players, but if I just flick through some of the transfer rumours today about Liverpool, sounds to me as if these 3 players might be off, mate. Because if you believe the rumours to be true about them being linked with all these players that I'm going to show you in a minute, then Salah, Van Dijk and Trent might all be off skis, mate, because they are linked with everyone today. AC Milan want Jack Grealish, apparently. Chelsea prepared to sell Nkunku. Jonathan David reps are in concrete talks with Arsenal, Man United and Tottenham over a move. That's obviously a free transfer. He's going to be leaving Lille. He's only 24, Canadian international. I would take him as a backup striker, but not as the number one.
Yeah.
Barcelona have set 120 million euro price tag for Rafinha. Looks like they want to keep both, obviously, Yamal and Rafinha, which is allowing Nico Williams to potentially look elsewhere from Barcelona, which could come in handy in a couple of minutes when I go to it. Obviously, Man United are trying to flog Højlund because it's not worked out. And then you start to look at this one. Now, Chelsea and Liverpool. Here we go. Liverpool prepared to go for around 75 million euros for Ademola Lookman, a player that I would like 100%. Right, that's the first one Liverpool linked with. Then Liverpool, Munich and Dortmund are also going to be looking to go and try and get Ryan Cherki from Lyon because they're going to be selling him. Another player that I think is very, very good and very talented. Newcastle are looking at Brian and Mbeumo, who I think would be a good signing. Liverpool are looking to sign Bastoni from Inter Milan for £60 million. Right? Liverpool are determined to beat Arsenal, Villa, PSG and United to the signing of Nico Williams and are willing to trigger a 60 million euros release clause, which is what it says here. Liverpool are willing to sell Darwin Nunez this summer. And then there's Tottenham's linked to Tyler Diblin. Liverpool are trying to get Gyokeres and Semenyo. They want all these players, apparently. And Liverpool want Harry Kane, it says here. Liverpool want Isak. Right, let's just stop there. Basically, Liverpool are going to be in trouble in the Summer League because I think the three of these lads are going. I honestly think the three of these lads are going. We're in April nearly, and all three of them are leaving at the moment. In 2 months, they leave. They ain't signed. Trent's going to go Real Madrid. That one's obvious. But Salah and Van Dijk at the moment are going to be free to go and speak to whoever they want. I cannot. And on top of that, Kanate looks like he's going to be leaving to go to either Madrid or PSG. Alisson, they've had to buy a new goalkeeper in Mamadashvili because they know he's not long term. The three up top, Luis Diaz, Darwin Nunez, obviously Salah we've mentioned, and Diogo Jota, all look like they're leaving. Liverpool could be gutted out in this summer, mate, after winning this league.
Well, I'd take that if I won the league, though, Dan.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, you know, you would take the trophy, of course you would. But are you not? Would you not be worried as a Liverpool fan?
Yeah, I think there's concerns on it. I look at forget about Trent. That's a big blow. That's a big blow. The other two are in their 30s. You can't be saying to a 33-year-old, 34-year-old, as good as they are, and they are still good, we're giving you £300,000 a week on a three-year contract or whatever. Liverpool can't do that. They can't afford to do that, Dan. And then, like 2 years down the line, they're you know, like squad players or whatever, like, because, you know, unfortunately, you know, the legs start to go and all that, like, you know. So it's a difficult situation that they're in. You know, Mo Salah's on £300 million a week now. You know, I mean, listen, he's worth every single penny of it because he's doing the business. But, you know, you can't be doing that for another 3 years and another 3 years. And also, like, then you're going to have, I don't know, players coming through that are a bit younger, that they'll be, you know, saying, well, I want this money and I want that. And the new signings will want this and want that, you know. So if they was to put them on those sort of contracts for them, then they've got to go and buy some players. They've got to go and spend the money, you know. At the end of the day, you can't have every single player down on £300,000 a week. You can't. Fair play won't allow that to happen. So they've got to be a little bit careful, Liverpool. And that's where I think that they will have to cut their losses with these guys and rebuild again with a bit of a younger player. Listen, if they were, the other side of it is, you know, and you have to give them the credit for this. Well, where are they going to get the money from? They've not spent a penny in 2 transfer windows, then. They've not spent a penny. Or maybe like a little bit on the guy from Juventus, didn't they? Like, you know, the Italian guy. Other than that, they haven't spent a lot of money. So they're going to have funds. They are going to have funds. Just like a team from North London is going to have funds. So it'd be really interesting what they do. The one that is a bit of a killer for them is Trent, because they'd be gutted about that, Liverpool, because they would have looked at from a. I'm talking on the business side here, like, you know, like don't want to be going on about it. Like, they could have got 70 million for him, right, and replaced Trent with Conor Bradley for nothing, who's decent, right? But they're having to now to replace Trent with Conor Bradley, getting not a penny. That is a big blow for Liverpool. That is a big blow, because that would have been on their sheets and everything like that, because he's come through the ranks and all that. That will hit Liverpool hard, that one, more so than the other two, if I'll be real, because, you know, that would have been a Chiesa. That's right, Chiesa. They spent a bit of money on. So listen, I think that at the end of it, Liverpool will maybe have a season where it might not go. This is where Slot now becomes, to me, is he the real deal? I think he's been fantastic, by the way. Don't get me wrong, it's been fantastic what he's done. But now he's going to have to build his own side. That's it. Got what he has. I think that he has. I think that he has got that. But we'll have to wait and see if he has.
There's going to be a lot of money spent this summer, bruv. Let me tell you that.
I
Manchester
think they
City,
will as well. Yeah.
Manchester City are going to spend about 300 million. Arsenal need to spend about that much. Liverpool may need to if they lose those players. Manchester United and Spurs need to catch up. Newcastle will go mad. They have not spent for 4 windows. They are going to go big, mate.
If they get
Aston
Champions
Villa.
League.
Say again?
If they get Champions League, they will.
Exactly, which I think they will. Chelsea will go and buy a striker, defender, a goalkeeper, and a winger. Like it is going to go nuts, mate. The problem we got is majority of those sides, other than Newcastle and Manchester City, all need a striker, right? Liverpool need a 9, Arsenal need a 9, Chelsea need a 9, Man United need a 9. You'd probably say that there's a couple of others that need a 9 in there as well. A lot of them need a winger. A lot of them need a defender. A lot of them need a midfielder. There isn't only a select amount of players, and Arsenal need to now go into the market and get this sorted. And I do have a little bit more faith now that we're getting Andrea Berta, bruv. I do. I think Andrea Berta's first job has got to be keep the players here that you want and go and get those players in that are going to be absolute gems for us that take us to that next level. And a lot of people are talking about who that is. Now, Sophie's not going to like this in the chat because it's about a Newcastle player again, but there's been rumours and suggestions from Romano that Bruno Gyokeres is somebody that Arsenal were interested in bringing in. Obviously, Berta is a big fan of him as well. Romano has said that many reports on Bruno Gyokeres, reports about Arsenal and other clubs that are interested. He says what he's able to tell you today is that despite all the stories, not aware of any concrete negotiations or contact between Arsenal or Bruno. So he's basically thrown cold water over it. He was on the wish list when the director was Edu. The connection was there due to the Brazilian connection, and the new director being Berta, not aware of any direct contact. So although that we're a fan, let's be real, you can be a fan of players. It doesn't mean you're going to get them. Do you know what I mean? But that is the sort of player that would excite me. That is the sort of player that would excite me. I'm not saying it has to be Bruno. I'm a big fan of Morgan Rogers. I like Reinders. These are the sort of players in midfield that I'd be excited by. I don't want to go and get another Mikel Merino, Lee, right? Up top.
So what are you saying, like Supermendy is not the one for you?
Supermendy. Again, I like him. I like
him.
Who
would you prefer go for? If they're going for Supermendy or Bruno, who would you prefer?
Bruno all day long. Bruno all day long. He can play in the 6 and the 8. Supermendy's just a 6. And he's Premier League proven. Yeah, I like Zubimendi. I do like Zubimendi, but I don't think he's. Yeah, I don't think
I like him as well.
Tonali, yeah, Gianni, you called him, whatever it was. You called him.
I'm a big fan of him as well.
Tonali, yeah, Tonali is.
Tonali. I do think he is a quality. Tonali, I think he's. Yeah. I think he's gone under the radar how good he is. You know.
Oh, mate, that Newcastle midfield is unbelievable. Joe Linton's incredibly underrated as well.
Yeah,
you know. So there's some good players.
Out of Rice and Joe Linton, I'd have Rice, but I will take the other two
in a heartbeat. Yeah,
I would. I don't know how old Bruno is now. 26, is he coming into his prime?
Yeah, I think he's 26, 27. I think he's the one Newcastle fans would be more worried about leaving than Isak, I think. But I think they'll both stay.
Well, listen, Newcastle are in a position at this moment in time that if they get Champions League football, the pressure's off of them. If they don't, that when you're doing like what you're doing, it becomes a little bit more easy pickings, doesn't it? Like, it's for instance, I don't see Bournemouth being anywhere near as they were next season because a few of their players are going to be picked off this season because they've been that good. That's what happens. So for Newcastle, they need to get into the Champions League to stop that happening. Bournemouth probably have to do that to get in to stop their boys going as well. Like, you know, very, very difficult. Like Bruno 27, Sophie says. So yeah, listen, I would take him, but as I say, Newcastle have got them, and Newcastle, if they were to get in the Champions League, could build they could be like in a position to really challenge if they bought a couple of top players because they've got a top midfield, as you just said. Their front three ain't bad. I know like Murphy gets a bit of a unsung hero and all that. He's been fantastic for them, by the way. But if they was to shore up their defence, which is tactically very, very good because they can defend, but get a little bit, they could be a tough nut to crack. I'm telling you that, well, we know all about that. You know what I mean? So,
I think Newcastle could have a really good season next season.
Yeah,
I really do. I think they get a goalkeeper who's better than Pope. They get in a centre half to partner Botman. I think they need still a right winger, proper right winger like Brian Mbeumo or Kudus or someone like that. And somebody like Jonathan David to come in as a free transfer to back up Isak would be a good signing for Newcastle. And I think they're ready to go again, man. They've got Harvey Barnes and Gordon for the left wing option. In midfield, we just said they're stacked. They've still got the likes of Willock and Miley that are coming through as well to give them some backup as well. And then if they buy players this summer and the starters in those positions then become the backup, I think they've got a brilliant chance of going for a very good season. So let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. But it's going to be interesting. To close, Lee, obviously, we don't have a clue at the moment what's happening because Andrea Berta has not officially been appointed, but it sounds like he is going to be our new sporting director.
Yeah.
Chris Hudson said something which stuck with me last week or the week before. He said he's looking for him to bring in 3 top players that we are excited about and 2 gems. And he kind of made me think of some of the gems that he's bought in Atletico Madrid over the years, like Rodri, for example. He bought from Villarreal for like £20 million, absolute steal. He's bought in players, even of late, very shrewd signings like David Villa and Luis Suarez, very shrewd business from Barcelona who did very well for them. And I kind of looking at that thinking Mateus Cunha and Diogo Jota were both bought by Berta before they were with Wolves and Liverpool and co. So I'm looking at that thinking, yeah, do you know what? I'm with Chris. I want to see 3 top players that I go, wow, fair play. And then a couple of real shrewd bit of business. That's what I'm thinking.
100%. 100%. And I think that Edu's done that to a certain degree. But some real proper signings first of all. And the backups, people going, I didn't realise how good he was. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm laughing at this super chat. Canadian Gooner's not a fan of Jonathan David. He'd rather have Craig David. That's class. Oh, that's brilliant. That is.
Well, listen, he would know, so we go along with that.
We'll have to go along with that, mate, because he definitely knows more than me. Look, I've seen his numbers and quite rate him quite highly, but if he's saying he ain't good enough, then fair play. I will say I don't think he's good enough for the Arsenal to play every week, but certainly as backup, I'd rather have him than a Croc Jesus or a Croc Havertz right now. That's for sure. So there we are. Listen, that's the super chats. Big up to everyone for being here. Really appreciate you. That hour and 12 has flew by as ever, Lee.
Yeah,
so I'll let you.
It's a good chat. That very good chat.
It was, man. It was England and Arsenal as well. So there we go. We got the England game tonight, and maybe we'll do something after the England game in the next couple of days. Talk about that a bit more as we look towards
especially
the week
if
for
business again, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so, mate. Right, I'll let you say bye then, Lee. I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, listen, have a lovely evening. Get your pillows out, get your blankets out. England are on tonight.